Hello students, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we will do the science section of the C03 test, which is the December 2019 test. So let's begin. Passage 1. The molar volume of a gas is the volume occupied by 1 mole, that is 6 into 10 to the power 23 atoms or molecules of that gas at a given pressure and temperature. Table 1 shows how the molar volume in liters of each of 6 gases, helium, neon, argon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, varies with pressure in atmospheres at a temperature of 273 kelvins. Table 2 shows how the molar volume of each of the 6 gases varies with temperature at a pressure of 1 atmospheres. Based on table 1, for hydrogen at 273 Kelvin, the absolute value of the difference between the molar volume at 5 atmospheres and the molar volume at 10 atmospheres is approximately. So we have hydrogen at 5 and at 10, right? So that's about 4.496 and 2.256. So that's about 2.24. So that's P. Consider the molar volumes of helium, argon, hydrogen, and nitrogen listed in the table. What is the order of these gases from the gas having the smallest molar volume to the gas having the largest? 323 Kelvin. Okay, so this is 323. So this, and this. There were 5, right? So helium, argon, hydrogen, nitrogen. Helium. Okay, so we don't have to consider this. So 26.504, 26.486, 26.521, and 26.492. And we have to go from smallest to highest. So smallest is this, then this, then this, and then this. So 486 is argon, 492 is nitrogen, 504 is helium, and 521 is hydrogen. So it's argon, nitrogen, helium, hydrogen. Argon, nitrogen, helium, hydrogen. Option G. Based on tables 1 and 2, at any given temperature and pressure, the molar volume of which other gas is more similar to the molar volume of oxygen? Okay. At any given, so oxygen, you have 44. So you can see that if you look at this 0.19 and 0.2, so it's closest to argon, right? 77773, right? Let's also verify here. Yeah, so it's argon. An ideal gas has a molar volume of 63.429 liters at 1 atmosphere and 773 Kelvin. At 1 atmosphere and 7, how many of the gases listed in the table have a smaller molar volume than an ideal gas? Okay, so 773 is this, right? So you have 63 liters, right? So they 63.429 and smaller. Okay, so 63.429. So this is greater, 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 greater. All of them are greater than this, right? So 0. In a gas sample, collisions between gas particles are common. The average time a gas particle spends between one collision and the next is called the mean free time. In general, mean free time decreases as a sample's volume decreases. Based on table 1, the mean free time would be the least for 1 mole sample of which gas at which pressure. 1 mole sample. Okay, so you have helium and oxygen at 0.5 and 100. Okay, so we're looking at 0.5 and we're looking at 100. So we are looking at helium and oxygen, right? So the mean free time would be the least. So the lowest volume would be, it would be for oxygen at 100 pressure, right? Consider two separate 1 mole samples of oxygen, each at a pressure of 1 atmosphere. One sample has a volume of 18 and the other 63. Average kinetic energy of the oxygen molecules is more likely greater in which sample? Okay, so if the volume is greater, let's say we have 1 atmosphere, and if the volume is greater, then the temperature is greater. And if the temperature is greater, then the kinetic energy is greater, right? So it would be the 63-liter sample because it's at a higher temperature. Passage 2, scientists conducted 3 experiments to study the transfer of bacteria from one surface to another by 2 species of flies, Musca domestica and Sarcophaga carnaria. A group of 10 M. domestica was tested using this procedure. Each fly was placed in a separate enclosure containing E. coli and allowed to walk on the E. coli for 5 minutes. Each fly was then immediately placed in a separate petri dish containing sterile nutrient agar. 5 minutes later, the flies were removed from the dishes. The dishes were incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 24 hours so that each E. coli cell on the dish divided to form a separate colony, and then the number of colonies was counted. The average number of colonies per dish was calculated. This procedure was also used to test a group of 10 S. carnaria, and the results were shown here. The procedure from experiment 1 was repeated with each of 3 groups of 10 S. carnaria, except that the flies in each group were allowed to walk on the E. coli for a different period of time, 5, 30, and 60, before each fly was placed in a separate petri dish containing nutrient agar. The results are shown here. The procedure from experiment 1 was repeated with each of 3 groups of 10 S. carnaria, except that after step 1, the flies in each group were allowed a different period of time to clean themselves before each fly was placed in a separate petri dish. Okay. As the amount of cleaning time increased, the average number of colonies per dish, you can see it decreased. So B. What was the total number of flies tested in experiment 3? The procedure from experiment, each of 3 groups of 10, so 30. A scientist claimed that some species of flies spread bacterial diseases are the results of experiment 1, consistent with this claim. Yes, because the flies transferred bacteria from one surface to another, because you can see that they picked it up from E. coli and then they transferred it to another surface. So A. In the experiments, why was it necessary for the nutrient agar to be sterile until the flies were placed in the dishes? To ensure that any colonies that formed came from bacteria present in the agar? No. To ensure that any colonies formed came from bacteria transferred to the nutrient agar by the flies? Yeah. A student claimed that species X flies would transfer more E. coli cells to a petri dish containing nutrient agar than would either M. domestica or S. carnaria. Which of the following experiments would best test the student's claim? So that will have to be 1, because in 1 we are comparing, right? So it would be repeat experiment 1 except include a group of 10 species X flies, right? So you would have to repeat it with species X flies. Which of the following statements gives the most likely hypothesis for experiment 3? Okay, in which they were allowed to clean themselves. S. carnaria remove bacteria when they clean themselves. The longer they are exposed to bacteria, the more bacteria they transfer. M. domestica transfer more bacteria. M. domestica are better. No, so this is just to do with S. carnaria, right? So they remove bacteria when they clean themselves, right? So this has to be F. Which of the following is the most likely reason that the average number of colonies per dish for carnaria shown in figure 1 was different from the average number of colonies per dish for the flies that spent 5 minutes on E. coli in experiment 2? Okay, so 5 minutes on E. coli This is for S carnaria. So it's 80 here, and here it was 5 minutes, and here it was 90, right? Okay. So what was the reason? By chance, M. domestica transferred fewer E. coli than did. There was no M. domestica in the second experiment. So M. domestica is not correct. Yeah, by chance, the S. carnarian experiment 2 transferred fewer E. coli than did the S. carnaria in experiment 1. Okay, passage 3. Forest fires require oxygen to burn. Figure 1 shows the number of paleo wildfires, large forest fires known from the rock record, for each 10 million year interval of the Mesozoic era, which is 250 to 65 million years ago. Figure 1 also shows a model of the percent oxygen by volume in Earth's atmosphere from 250 million years ago to 70 million years ago. To study how percentage oxygen affects burning, scientists attempted to ignite 7 samples of each of 4 different materials, 1 sample at a time in a chamber. For each set of samples of the same material, the initial percentage oxygen in the chamber was ranged from 12 to 18%. Figure 2 shows for each sample the duration of the sample's flame. Okay. The percentage oxygen in Earth's atmosphere today is about 21. According to figure, at which of the following times during the Mesozoic era was the percentage oxygen in Earth's atmosphere closest to that today? So 21. So that would be, so I think it should be exactly, yeah, so one answer is obviously 250 million years ago because that's very close. And then it's also about 85, around 85 also. So 250 or 85. Yeah, so we'll go with 250. According to figure 2, at an initial percentage oxygen of 17, approximately how many seconds greater was the flame duration for dry paper than for pine wood? Okay, so 17, how much greater was it for dry paper than for pine wood? Okay, so that's seconds. So 8 minus 2, 6 seconds. A scientist claimed that paleo wildfires could only have occurred when the percentage oxygen was higher than 15. For which of the following time intervals during the Mesozoic era are the data inconsistent with this claim? Higher than 15, right? So when do you have a number of wildfires? Okay, so higher. So this is like almost entirely it's inconsistent, right? So you can say 250 to 230. That's true. Yeah, for sure. What about 180 to 160? 180 to 160, that is also true, but 170 touches 15. Yeah. 120 to 100. 120 to 100 is, yeah, also touching there. 15 and 90 to 70. 90 to 70. Yeah, so we'll go with the first one because there it's not even touching 15. According to figure 2, what is the order of the 4 materials tested from the material that required the highest initial percentage oxygen to ignite to the material required lowest oxygen? Okay. So highest that was needed to ignite was pine wood. Then you had, wait, where is the other one? There are 4, right? So there is pine wood. Then there is the star, which is dry paper. Then there is the triangle, which is match. And what about this one? Candle. Where is candle? Candle. Yeah, so candle is After start, yeah, so candle is here. It starts, yeah, so it starts with, yeah, so it is, oh no, it's the, yeah, so candle comes here actually. Yeah, after pine wood, it's the candle because, yeah. So pine wood, candle, dry paper, match. Pine wood, candle, dry paper, match. According to figure 1, how many paleo wildfires are known from the rock record between 95 and 85? Okay, 95 and 85. So that's 5. It's 5, right? 90, between 90, oh, 95 and 85. This one, it's 4, sorry. According to figure 2, at the initial percentage oxygen of 16, which of the 4 materials sustained a flame the longest? 16, right? So the longest was, yeah, it was dry paper. Okay. Passage 4, 4 students observed that in a population of land plants, population a plant could have a green stem or a purple stem. Each student proposed an explanation for this observation. Student 1, all plants in population A produce the green pigment chlorophyll. If a plant receives 8 hours or more of sunlight each day, it also produces a purple pigment, causing its stem to be purple. If a plant receives less than 8 hours of sunlight, it does not produce this pigment, so its stem is green. All plants are genetically identical, so they all have the ability to produce both pigments. Student 2, all plants produce the green pigment chlorophyll. If a plant receives too little phosphorus, it also produces a purple pigment, causing its stem to be purple. If a plant receives enough phosphorus, it does not produce this purple pigment, so the stem is green. All plants are genetically identical, so they all have the ability to produce both pigments. The amount of sunlight received by a plant does not affect its stem color. Student 3, all plants in population A produce the green pigment chlorophyll. The production of purple pigment is determined by gene Q, which has 2 alleles, capital Q and small q, and 3 possible genotypes. A plant with either the gene Q genotype or the gene Q genotype produces the purple pigment. So capital Q is dominant, right? Causing its stem to be purple. A plant with the gene Q, small q, does not produce. So small q is recessive. Okay. So its stem is green. The amount of sunlight or nutrients do not affect stem color. All plants in population A produce the green pigment, chlorophyll. The production of purple pigment is determined by gene Q, which has 2 alleles and 3 possible genotypes. A plant with the gene Q produces the purple, causing its stem to be purple. Okay, so in this case, a plant with either the gene Q genotype or the gene does not produce this purple. So it's the amount of sunlight. Okay, this is a little strange because, yeah, it doesn't really tell us which is dominant and which is recessive. Which student would be most likely to agree that the soil in which a population A's plant is grown will influence? So that has to be student 2, right? Because he believes in phosphorus. Suppose it were found that the presence of the purple pigment in some plant tissues protects those tissues from being damaged by sunlight. Would this finding better support the explanation of student 1 or student 2? It would be student 2, right? Because student 2 indicated that the plants, sunlight, so it would be, if a plant receives less than, it does not produce this purple segment. So student 1 indicated that the plants receiving the most sunlight, if a plant receives less than 8 hours of sunlight, it does not produce this segment. Stems. Yeah, the plants receiving the most sunlight will have green stems. That's what he says. Student 2 does not think it has anything to do, so it will be B. Yeah. All four of the students' explanations are consistent with which of the following statements? In population A, both green-stemmed plants and purple-stemmed plants produce a pigment that can be used for photosynthesis. Yeah, that's true for all, right? Only green-stemmed plants, only purple. Yeah, so F is true. All plants produce chlorophyll. Which of the students, if any, would be likely to agree that providing a purple-stemmed plant from population A with additional sunlight would cause its stem to become green? Additional sunlight. Yeah, so that would be student 1, because if you give it additional sunlight, it will wait, I think of a B. Yeah, for 21, it has to be B, A. Yeah, sorry, I made a mistake there. It will be green in case it is receiving less than 8 hours of sunlight, right? So, no, if it is receiving less than 8 hours, then it is purple. So none of the students. Suppose 2 of the purple-stemmed plants in the population were crossed and 52 purple-stemmed plants and 15 green-stemmed offspring were produced. If all the parents and offspring in the cross were grown under the same conditions, these results would best support the explanation of which student? 52 and 15, right? So that's, so you will basically, the first person is saying that Q is dominant and small q is recessive. So if you're crossing them, then 3 out of 4 will have purple and 1 out of 4 will have green, right? That's according to him. While in the second case, yeah, because in the second case, it is only small q. Wait, so here it was, how is it 3 out of 4? Because capital Q, small q, capital Q, and capital Q, right? And this is only when it's this. So causing a plant with either this or this does not produce this purple. Okay. And a plant, so its stem is green, right? So green is the smaller, so it will be student 3. Yeah. Based on student 4's explanation, if a purple stemmed plant and a green stemmed plant from population are crossed and they produce both purple stemmed offspring and green stemmed offspring, the gene Q genotype of the parent will be with the, okay. So here they are, if a plant with the gene Q genotype produces the purple, okay, a plant with either the gene Q genotype does not produce this. So it's okay. So here with the purple one, it should be QQ. The green stem, yeah. So green stem has to be QQ because then the child will be small q, small q. Which of the students would be likely to agree that a plant receiving 9 hours of sunlight could have either a purple stem or a green stem? 9 hours of sunlight, right? So all 4 of them, because, yeah. No, 2, 3, and 4, sorry. Because what is the first one saying? No, first one is saying that it could have, right? If it is, it's purple. So it could have, yeah. So it would be, because first one doesn't agree that it can have green. So this. Okay, passage 5, liquid water can be broken down into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas by electrolysis according to the following chemical equation. A scientist performed an experiment to study the electrolysis of water using electricity generated from sunlight. Steps 1 to 5 were performed daily for 12 months. A tank fitted with 2 electrodes, an anode where oxygen would be produced and a cathode where hydrogen was assembled. Each electrode was suspended in an inverted plastic tube, and each tube was marked to allow gas volume to be measured. 4 liters of a 25% by mass aqueous solution of sodium hydroxide was added to the tank. As a result, the tubes were completely filled with the solution. Okay, at 8 a.m., a rectangular solar cell was attached to the electrodes and placed next to a particular south-facing window for 8 hours. Figure 1 shows the apparatus. Okay, 8 hours later, the solar cell was detached from the electrodes and the amount of hydrogen that had been produced was measured. The tank, tubes, and electrodes were cleaned and dried for reuse. Figure 2 shows the total volume of hydrogen produced in liters in each month of the experiment. Table 1 shows the average solar irradiance, power per unit area, and watts per square meter at the location of the solar cell during each month of the experiment. Question 27, based on figure 2 and table 1, during the month in which a total of 70 liters of hydrogen was produced, the average solar irradiance was figure 2 and table 1. Okay, 70 liters was in March, and in March it was 153.8 B. Based on the description of the experiment, at 4 p.m. on each day, did the scientists measure the amount of gas produced at the anode or the cathode? So at 4 p.m., because they started at 8, so at 4 p.m. they measured hydrogen, so that was cathode. The cathode, because the cathode is where the hydrogen was produced. Consider the percent by mass of sodium hydroxide in the solution added to the tank in step 2. Approximately what mass of sodium hydroxide was in 200 grams of solution? 25% by mass. So 200 grams would be 50, 1/4. Based on the chemical equation in figure 2, approximately how many liters of oxygen were produced in Feb? Okay, Feb. So hydrogen was 40. So oxygen would be half of that. So 20, right? Yeah, 20 would be oxygen. Oxygen would be half of hydrogen, right? Because that's what you're getting there. 2H2 plus O2. So that would be 20, I think. Yeah. 31, based on the description of the experiment, in the month of June, how many total liters of sodium hydroxide were added to the tank? In the month of June, huh? Okay. So it has to be 4 liters, right? Oh, like that. Okay. Yeah, it was performed once in June. Daily for 12 months, so 30 times. So 120 once each day. Yeah. Based on table 1, on May 11 was the solar irradiance of the solar cell less than, equal to, or greater than 197.5. May 11. Based on table 1, on May 11, was it equal to or greater? Average, so we can't really figure out. It was average. Suppose the experiment was repeated except that the scientist added only pure liquid hydrogen, water to the tank in step 2. Based on the description, would this change have more likely resulted in more hydrogen or less hydrogen? Pure liquid water. So instead of NaOH, it added pure water. So I think it would mean less, right? Pure liquid has fewer ions and lower electrical conductivity, so less hydrogen. Passage 6, a standing wave on a taut string is a wave that appears to vibrate without traveling along the string. Such waves are called the string's harmonics. Each harmonic has a characteristic number of notes, locations between the ends of the string that do not move. The ends of the string do not count as notes. Figure 1 illustrates a harmonic and also the apparatus that a student used to perform 2 experiments on standing waves. A string having a mass per unit length of mu was attached on one end to an oscillator, a motor that vibrates, and on the other end to a pulley and ratchet. The student could select the frequency of the oscillator's vibration. By cranking the ratchet, the student could vary the force of tension in the string. Okay, with 0.1 newtons of tension, the student varied the frequency. She noted that standing waves occurred only at certain values of frequency. The student sketched the first 5 harmonics and recorded the frequency for each. She repeated this procedure for string Y and string Z. Okay. Then again with string X, the student set the oscillator to vibrate at a particular frequency. She then varied the tension and noted that standing waves only occurred at particular values of the tension. The student recorded this for the first 5 harmonics and she repeated this procedure. Okay. Based on the sketches made in experiment 1, the string shown in figure 1 is vibrating at which harmonic? The string shown in figure 1 is vibrating at which harmonic? So that would be the third, right? Because there are 2. So it will be the third. In a new trial, the student made the following sketch of a standing wave on string Z. Based on the results of this standing wave occurred at which value of F and T? So there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth harmonic, right? 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's one more here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the 6th harmonic, right? Which has, and for Z, so you would obviously have to increase the frequency more than 19.8. So it would have to be C and D. And what about the tension? For the tension, it would be 0.16. So it would have to reduce further. So it would have to be less than 0.16. So it would be C. A piece of string Y that is 1 centimeter in length would have the same mass as a piece of, okay, this is mu. Here is the, we didn't tell us what mu is, right? But we can see that it is the mass per unit length. So 0.02 grams per centimeter is for X. 0.08 grams per centimeter is for Y. And 0.16 grams per centimeter is for Z. So 4 of X, 1 of Y would have the same mass as 4 of X. Yeah. The student reported the data in table 1 with how many significant digits? Table 1. How many significant digits? So it's sometimes it's 1 and sometimes it's 2 because after the decimal, right? So some data with 1 and some with 2. Yeah. For a string at constant tension, let Fn represent the frequency of the nth harmonic. F1 is the frequency of the first harmonic, F2 and so on. Experiment 1 for string X. frequency of the nth harmonic. 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 times F1, right? It's 5 times n times F1. Suppose that a string having a mass per unit length of 0.3 had been tested in experiment 2. The fourth harmonic would most likely have occurred at a tension 0.32 grams. 0.32 means double of this. So let's call it W, and the fourth harmonic at a tension. So you can see that it's increasing constantly. So it would be greater than 0.25. Yeah. Based on the results of experiments 1 and 2, for a given harmonic, as mu increased, did F increase or decrease? Okay. So as mu increases like this for a given harmonic. So F decreases, but T increases. F decreases and T increases. Okay, so let's grade this. Question 1. Okay, 1 second. I'll just pull up the answer key for science. Okay, BGBFD, BGBFD, number 6, JBJAG, JBJAG, number 11, AFBFC, AFBFC, number 16, GCFBG, 16 is G. Okay, 16 is G, so we'll come back to this. GCFB G, 20 is G. AFDHD, AFDHD, 26. JBHPF, JBHBF, 31. CJDHC, CJDHC, and 36 GDHDH. G37 is D, GDHDH. Okay, so we got 2 wrong. Significant digits. Okay, significant digits would then not mean decimal. Significant digits would mean the total number of digits, right? So every data point has a total of 3 digits. So, okay, so that was a learning that significant digits is the total number of digits. Okay, so that's one. And the other mistake was, where was it? It was here. A scientist claimed that paleo wildfires could only have occurred when for which of the following? Yeah, so 180 to 160. It reached 15, right? Million years ago. Percentage oxygen was less than 15. Okay, but then why is 250 to 230 wrong? 250 to 230. This is happening here, right? You have percentage oxygen less than 15, and you know that there are wildfires here. So well, let me see. Higher than 15. So this is definitely happening here. Should I verify the answer? 16 is G, 180 to 160. Yeah, because if it's 240 million years ago, it's definitely happening there, right? That's inconsistent. Oh, right. Okay. This is the percentage oxygen. Sorry. I didn't read that properly. It's the, yeah, so it has to be, okay. Yeah, then you can see that 180 to 160, 180 to 160, it's definitely less than 15. Okay. Yeah. 120 to 100, 120 to 100, it's definitely greater. And similarly for 90 to 70. Yeah. So it has to be G. Okay, so hope this exercise was useful. If it was, hit like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comment section what other videos you'd like me to upload. I've already uploaded the math and English solutions for this test. I'd link to them in the description box, so do check those out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to receive notifications of more such uploads in future. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.